Warner, the Democrat of Virginia, is with us this morning on WTOP. Good morning and Happy New Year.
Good morning, guys. I mean, it may be cold, but nothing's going to make me try to run in California.
Not even San Diego?
Well, it's pretty good today. But no, I'm Virginia deep and through.
That's good. Listen, we've got some really important business that still needs to be done on Capitol Hill. And I heard the president use a word. It may have been yesterday or the day before. He said stability is something we all need. So we're not up and down in crises and things like that. Are we going to see a different Congress this year? I know we got the midterm elections and all that kind of stuff, but you guys talk when you're away from Washington and say, enough of this nonsense, let's get something done?
I sure hope so. I mean, I've got every piece of legislation I'm working on is bipartisan. I've got a Republican partner. I spent 3 years actually working on trying to get a grand bargain on the budget, which I still think is the single best thing we could do to jumpstart this economy. But you're absolutely right. I mean, this economy is ready to come back. What's been the biggest overhang has been the dysfunction in Washington. So I'm, a little more optimistic than I was. We got the 2-year budget deal in place. We got a defense bill out. We're going to get an appropriations bill out next week, so that particularly those of us in the greater Washington area that rely on having some predictability from the federal government will have at least a little bit of running room. But there's still some pretty deep divisions here, and one of the most important things we can do is continue to try to build some just individual trust with each other, that not every issue breaks down on partisan lines.
One of the things getting a lot of attention is the bill to extend unemployment benefits. And at one point, wasn't finding the money to pay for it kind of a non-starter for Democrats? Though now it sounds like that's a possibility.
Well, historically, it has been emergency funding has been continued without being paid for. That's what's under Bush. It's been under Obama. It goes back forever. I think there is a question at some point, because we've extended these benefits so long, that there's some structural change that, for the long-term unemployed, should there be retraining combined with unemployment? But those are questions that aren't going to be answered in the next week. So let's go ahead and do this short-term extension. And if there is a need to look beyond 3 months, let's look at something that is I'm open to looking at other items and making sure that we don't dig ourselves a bigger deficit hole. I mean, long-term, that $17 trillion debt, what keeps me up at night is the fact we got $17 trillion in debt, and every night when I go to sleep and wake up the next morning, that number goes up by about $4 billion.
Wow.
And that is going to come back and bite us.
Well, this vicious cycle is not going to end until there are more jobs out there.
Well, you're absolutely right. And I would argue that that's why I didn't get a lot of attention. Something like an infrastructure financing authority that I did with Lloyd Blunt, 10 senators co-sponsored it, 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans. Not a silver bullet, but it would take advantage of these low interest rates and be able to leverage private capital as well in building on our infrastructure, which we know is crumbling, not just our roads, but airports, ports, water systems. That would be a tool for jobs. I believe there's opportunities as well still in the tech field. I was in the tech field, as many folks know, for 20 years before I got into politics. Some of the things in terms of crowdfunding and other ways to raise capital for startup companies, something I've been a big supporter of. I still believe actually getting a big budget deal in place where we finally get our country's balance sheet right on the entitlement side with reform of our tax code, which, let's face it, is a mess and is almost counter-investing in many ways, which is still an aspiration that I have, and I'm not going to let go of that issue. That's my signature issue, and we've kind of, with this last budget deal, gotten rid of even the low-hanging fruit. So the next time around, both sides are going to have to give on both, Democrats on entitlements, Republicans on tax reform. So I think there's a lot of things we could do to generate additional job growth that many of them, like entitlement, for example, or crowdfunding, don't fall on Democrat-Republican lines.
It'll be nice to see some progress there.
Sure would.
Senator, we always enjoy talking to you.
Yes.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Guys, stay warm.
You do the same.
You want to rethink that San Diego thing?
Listen, later today I'll hear Warner flirts with California. not happening. Not happening.
Senator, stay warm. Thanks again.
Back when I was governor, I always threatened people. I said the last thing we want to be is California in terms of how we budget. So I always use that as a threat. So
oh no, I ruined your morning.
All right, guys, take care.
You
Thanks,
too,
Senator.
Virginia Senator Mark Warner.